This week I took a little time to just hang out in the prison bus. I felt like I needed to get to know the space a little bit better. One of my thoughts has been to turn the bus into a mobile gym, but the fact is that the ceilings are way too low, even just for handstands. And then, as usually happens when I try to hang out and just do nothing, I found a job to do. There's a bunch of sticky adhesive stuff at the top of the walls, left over from the old heating vents, so I started pulling that off. And before long, I was suiting up, putting my knee pads in my pants and getting to work on the floors. I still had a lot of smaller holes on the floor to weld closed, and they all needed grinding around them so there would be good, clean, exposed metal to take the welds. Here I wanted to show you my patented method for relatively dust-free grinding. I positioned the mouth of the shop vac hose on the side of the grinder, kind of pinned it down with my knee, and that was where the dust and sparks really fly out. And it worked pretty well to suck up the rust dust. After finally prepping all the small holes with the grinder, I got busy welding up the holes one by one. I started at the front of the bus and then just worked my way back to the back door, hole by hole. So that's pretty sweet. I've got all the holes welded up. So all the small holes welded up on the floor of the prison bus. I still have some kind of big holes. Some from where some tubing was going for the heaters, and then a couple, maybe just 3 or 4 kind of bigger rust patches. So the next thing to do on my quest to repair these floors and get them watertight and sealed up is to fabricate some patches. So I'll make some small metal patches and then cut out this rusted sections and weld those patches in place. I cut out the sections one by one and then saved each nasty old cutout piece so that it would serve as a template later on that I could replace. And I should say that I ultimately numbered each one of these to correspond with the number on the floor of the bus. And what you see here is that there was a big old nasty hole right near the access port at the top of the fuel tank. And I was a little worried about cutting around the fuel tank, but I kept telling myself that the sparks weren't really going down and all that close to the tank. But as you can see, it was pretty sparky down in there, but there was no fire and still no fire. And after finishing this one up, I just moved on to the next hole. I have cut all the bigger rusty holes out of the bus, and then the next thing to do is to fabricate some patches which I will weld in place. And I'm just using all these little pieces that I cut out of the bus, and they're numbered. So this is my number 1 hole, and I will cut a piece just about this size, which should make a pretty tight fit. And when I was cutting that metal, I was wondering why that knee got so hot. First, I cut out a test patch as I wanted to patch up one hole and make sure the method I was using was sound. I had sanded off all the paint around the edges, and this patch was ready to weld. Now, this was a big deal for me. I was welding up my first floor patch. It was looking pretty good, so I put in the spot welds. And then it started looking a little bit low. Yeah, I was gonna have to work a bit on my welding. I got the hole cleaned up, and the second time it actually worked much better. And here's a close-up of my finished weld. No, I'm just kidding. My weld was nasty looking, and there's no way I'm going to reveal it to the masters of welding out there. But the patch seemed solid. I was happy with it, and I went on to fabricate the rest of the larger patches for the floor of the prison bus. And here's just a size comparison. They were looking pretty good. And this is the patch for that big old nasty section next to the fuel access point. And that hole would be no more, which I felt pretty good about. Alright, so check it out. I've got all the patches cut and sanded and numbered and ready to go in the bus. And I did have a little hiccup with my numbering system. I noticed I had a couple number 6s, but that won't throw me off. I also missed quite a few numbers before I get to 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And these are ready to go in the bus and be welded onto the holes. I really wanted to get to welding all the patches in place, but there's always one more thing. In this case, the one more thing was grinding around all my holes so the welds for the patches would hold. And once that was done, I could finally start welding the patches in place. And kind of miraculously, after that first test patch that didn't go so well, all these went really smoothly. I still needed to grind down some of the proud welds, but that was work for next time. So I just want to say thanks for watching my Prison Bus Remodel video. If you just happen to stumble into this video, I have a series, my playlist, starting from when I first bought the bus, and then tore out the cages and dealt with the prison toilet, etc. I also just want to say thank you if you've commented or subscribed. I really appreciate it. I've had some really awesome encouragement from people in the comments on these videos, just kind of encouraging me to keep going, and that's what I'm going to do. Just keep posting videos about the process of recuperating, changing, remodeling this old prison bus.